Everyone's talking about the new film Oppenheimer, but once upon a time I came across an Islamic scholar and intellectual who did something really strange. I was quite intrigued finding out that the Shaykh Abdullah al-Ujayri actually translated John Hersey's book on Hiroshima into Arabic. I thought to myself, why would an Islamic scholar and thinker who specialises in da'wah, theology and philosophy bother translating a book written in 1946 about an attack between two non-Muslim nations? He was very convincing about why Muslims need to know about this. He sent me a long but gripping read which we're translating and inshallah we'll be publishing on Islam 21 but I couldn't help but share a few things with you right now. You see, lots of people have been talking about the Christopher Nolan film depicting the story of Robert Oppenheimer, the scientist who led the team in creating the first atomic bomb. It was actually exactly 78 years ago this week that his bombs were used in the nuclear holocaust of Japan against hundreds of thousands of innocent Japanese civilians, at a time and in a manner chosen specifically to ensure maximum civilian casualties. 8:15 a.m. as children were going to school, as people were going to work, as shops were opening up for the day, and so on. At a time where Hitler was already dead and defeated, Japan was already negotiating terms of surrender, and US generals were themselves advising use of other, far less inhumane means of ending the war. What allowed human beings in modernity to devalue life at such an unprecedented scale? Ever since the first weapon was invented, human beings had the capacity to use it for oppression. And we did. But this scale of oppression, unleashing it on all types of people, animals, property, is arguably unmatched in history. Shaykh al-Ujayri and others argued that this was a moment that revealed Western civilization's moral character. That doesn't mean that every Westerner is prone towards criminality, but it's referring to the systems, ideas and dominant ideologies that drive the project of Western modernity, as many non-Muslim critics of modernity point out just as emphatically. You see, it's relatively easy to be kind and ethical in times of peace, especially if you have powerful propaganda and soft power. But as the Sheikh argues, the manifestations of ethical discipline truly reveal themselves during times of war and security breakdown. And this highlights a key distinction between Western modernity's values and Islamic values. Consider the likes of the systematic genocide of Native Americans, the barbarity of European colonialism, the Holocaust of Nazi Germany, the nuclear holocaust of Japan, all the way to the war and terror atrocities today and their consequences elsewhere, such as the Chinese genocide of Uyghur Muslims. It is impossible to fathom these things except in the modernity untethered from overarching moral frameworks, where ethics and morality are determined by their utility to the newly created nation state. These aren't isolated incidents or deviations, as the Sheikh mentioned. Rather, they represent the very path that the Western framework has set, a product of Western modernity with its materialism, utilitarianism and detachment from values and spirituality. While we can individually, privately be nice and ethical people, without challenging the fundamental philosophies that drive this train, it's still going to go full force in the predetermined direction of causing more and more carnage, just with better and more sophisticated PR and media cover. That's why many are increasingly turning to Islam for a replacement of those underlying frameworks and worldviews. The Quran and Sunnah are replete not only with general commandments and instructions concerning ethics during conflict, for example, but these have been reinforced in practice again and again and again. The Prophet ﷺ would stress to every battalion sent out to fear Allah who is watching them, not to be treacherous or oppressive in warfare, not to harm animals, let alone women and children. When the first Caliph of Islam, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh, dispatched his armies to Syria, for example, he famously said in many varied narrations, I advise you, I warn you about 10 things. Do not kill a young child. Do not kill a woman or an elderly person. Do not cut down fruit-bearing trees. Do not destroy a building. Do not slaughter a goat or a camel unless to eat. Do not drown a date palm tree. Do not burn bees. Do not steal. Do not betray. While today many Muslim majority countries may argue that they need to play the game according to Western modernity's rules, they need to develop weapons that are capable of anti-Islamic levels of destruction so that they are themselves not destroyed, to answer the question of whether or not there could be a Muslim Oppenheimer is a bit of a philosophical one. Inside the Western framework of materialism and absence of any tethered morality, then anything is possible if it can be argued that it serves the state. But it's not impossible to imagine and call for a world which is animated by a different idea. But some things are truly sacred. A civilization where there is something superior to the state, or the leader, or the emperor, or the president, to whom all other morality is tethered and sanctities are upheld. In such a world, the Muslim Oppenheimer wouldn't utilize millennia of accumulated knowledge and technology for competitors to create destruction for each other, but for collaborators to create solutions to challenges we all share, as we have seen and benefited from historically. And this idea is something the world is crying out for once again.